All right. Good evening, everybody. So lovely to meet you all today, this evening. And today I'm going to talk about, menopause, and most of you might be relating to it. Some of you might not be in the stage, but it will be really nice to hear about this and, how the transition happens and how we can prepare our bodies for that. Okay, so I'm going to share a PowerPoint and this is going to be interactive. Okay, so I would love to hear your questions. Okay, you can just, raise your hand or you can just stop me in between. You can put your questions in the chat box too. So it will be nice, to connect that way. All right. This is me. My name is Dr. Asavari Manvikar. Some of you might not know me. So I have done BAMS, Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery, in 1997 and 2000. I passed my MD in gut health, Kaya Chikitsa from Ayurveda, and I'm a registered yoga teacher, and I have been teaching and doing yoga for many many years. It's really hard to count, exactly how many years, but I love doing it. And I'm graduate faculty at the University of Minnesota. I am also founder and lead faculty at Minnesota Institute of Ayurveda. And I have my own healing center here in Minneapolis called as Ayu Wellness. So it's almost more than 25 years of journey, and I have seen Ayurveda being extremely beneficial at various stages of my life and also my students' lives as well as my clients' lives. So I'm going to share some of those stories too. So let's see. So today's webinar is actually co-hosted by two different organizations. So one is Minnesota Institute of Ayurveda. So this is a post-secondary licensed career school since 2017. It is based in Minnesota. And its main aim is to bring comprehensive evidence-based Ayurvedic education to the global community to promote health and wellness. And we offer various programs online as well as there are some programs which are hybrid. And there are some self-healing courses which are short courses, literally 6 weeks, and there are some workshops as well. And there are some long certification programs as well if someone wants to become Ayurvedic health counselor or Ayurvedic practitioner. And the other institute or organization is called as Minnesota Ayurveda Association. So this is a state level organization based in Ayurveda, and this organization is here since 2013. And our main aim is to foster the awareness and growth of Ayurveda by educating the public. So basically, this is open to everybody who wants to learn about Ayurveda, and also all different modalities which can help you to heal. So it is mainly based on Ayurveda, but there is also yoga, there are Reiki, there are other healing systems which are really important in order to use in a day-to-day life. So this is another organization, and we also host various community workshops and seminars and various events. So today we are going to talk about the phases of woman's life, the menopause, various stages, the symptoms of menopause, which is huge. If you look at the number, it's more than 50. There are many, many different symptoms at various stages as well as various systems of your life. And the diagnosis, how to find out exactly whether you have landed into the menopause or not, right? What is menopause as per Ayurveda, what it says about it. We'll also talk about some dietary guidelines, some lifestyle guidelines. There are some very, very particular, very specific Ayurvedic treatments and protocols and panchakarma. There are also various herbs that we use. And I'm going to talk about, one of the cases that was very successfully managed by changing diet and lifestyle. going through the menopause. All right. So these are some phases of a woman's life, right? All of us, we have gone through this. So if you look at the very first one, that is before the menarche. So this is, infancy and the childhood. So when you are very, very young, like a baby, and then you are slowly growing old, or, like growing into a childhood, like a girl, but you have not started your period yet. So if you look at the hormones, they are not completely manifesting, right? So that's how you haven't started your periods yet. So that is the very first phase in the woman's life. That is the infancy and the childhood. And then slowly, as you start growing, there is menarche. So you might have heard this word menarche. Menarche means very first period. Okay, the first period you get, and then there are multiple changes your body goes through, right? So you will see top to bottom, from hair, then the face, the facial hair, as well as, sometimes the acne, you will see, the breast tissue, as well as all other body parts, they start developing because during this phase, the estrogen and the progesterone mainly, they are active. So that's how the first period starts, and then you will see after the menarche. So that is the entire reproductive age. So if you see the menarche starts, the first period starts, say around 12 or 14 years old, and then up until around 50. So 12 to 15 is the complete period, that is the reproductive age, right? So during this period you might have, pregnancy, or if you conceive, then there will be pre-pregnancy, during the pregnancy, after the pregnancy, or after the delivery. So that's how these will be three other stages of a woman's life, every woman will face based on if she conceives or not. So that's how she goes, undergoes many different changes during this transition. Now, if you look at the last stage, or the third major phase of a woman's life, is the perimenopause and menopause, right? So if you see, after the menopause, the woman will not be able to conceive. So that is the end of her reproductive life. So that's how that is the major transition, right? So if you notice, from 12 years to 50 years of your age, you are, settled into your hormones. So almost imagine that you are living in a home for so many years, almost 40 years, and now it's time for you to change your home, completely move into a new home, right? It will be such a big transition for you. You need to gather so many things, right? And you will feel definitely uncomfortable. Nobody likes, change. We are all changing, but slowly. When there is a major shift, it is difficult for us to go through. And that's how you will see this, major change from reproductive age to non-reproductive age or stage of the life. It's quite difficult for many women. So we are going to focus on that, mainly today. So, what is the menopause, right? In a woman's life, menopause is a naturally occurring phenomena. That's the most important thing, because many times menopause is almost looked at as a, disease or a major health issue or a problem. It is definitely not a problem, right? Because this is a stage. As you started getting your first period, similarly, now the periods are going to stop. Definitely there is a transition, and that's how you start seeing, some uncomfortable feelings, or there are some symptoms if we do not take proper care of our bodies. Okay, so not every single woman will go through, all these menopause related symptoms. Some women might, some women might not. Some might have like very mild symptoms, some might have major, severe symptoms. So the menopause happens because the woman's ovaries, as we know that the ovaries are the main reproductive organs, so they stop producing the hormones estrogen and the progesterone. Right? So that's how now she will not be able to have ovulation, and that's how she will not be able to have babies anymore. So, how do you even know, right, whether you are into the menopause? What is the diagnosis? How to figure that out? So, the very first physical change or a symptom is cessation of the menstruation for consecutive 12 months. So, sometimes, women start getting the periods and few months they don't get it and then they start getting it again, right? So, 2, 3 months you do not get period at all and then you get it again. So, that will not be counted as a menopause. It has to be continuous, sequential, consecutive 12 months, complete 1 year when you did not have even one single drop. Okay, there is absolutely no period. Okay, so that will be counted, or at that point you will be able to say that okay, I have settled into the menopause, or I have gone completely through the menopause. And you might see some symptoms like it can be hot flashes, or there might be night sweats, or there is a slow weight gain, there are sleep related problems. Again, not every single woman will have it. Some might have, some might not have it. But these are very common symptoms. So you might see, some of these happening. And if you want to confirm, whether you are actual into the menopause or not, there are two main tests as per the Western medicine. So low serum estradiol. So this is a part of the estrogen. So it significantly drops down because your ovaries are not really producing mainly the estradiol, which is a part or a major significant portion of the estrogen. So it drops down below 20 pg per ml. Okay, so that is one test. And now, because the ovaries are not creating this hormone, your pituitary gland, right, the master gland that is in the brain, it starts creating a lot of FSH. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone. So basically, it is trying to create like more and more hormones so that there will be again estrogen creation. The ovary should start working again. So that's how this is almost like a feedback mechanism. And that's how you will see the FSH has increased. Okay, so estrogen or estradiol reduced and FSH increased significantly than the normal levels. So that is the major confirmation. If anybody wants to do the blood test or figure this out through the lab results. Now let's see the stages of the menopause. Okay, so if you see the initial phase, from 0 to 35, right? We have seen initially from 0 to 12, a girl is not getting a period. But after that, as soon as she start getting the period, up until around 35 to 40, this is the pre-menopause. So a woman is getting, normal periods. I mean, many times there are some abnormalities. Sometimes there is irregular periods or excessive bleeding, less bleeding, painful bleeding, all of those conditions. But typically, still she is having period, regularly. So that is the time up until first 12 to 35 years. Okay, so this is a normal productive life. She might have reproduction, right? She might have a baby. So, in very simple words. So, after that, the perimenopause starts. That is the next phase. So, that is from about 35 to 45 or up until 50 of your age. Okay, so after 50, typically there is, last period and there is no period at all for 1 year. So that is actual menopause. But before that, it can be about 8 to 10 years of perimenopause where the periods are becoming irregular, or sometimes they are extremely low, or low bleeding, less bleeding, or it can be excessive bleeding. So that is one of the symptoms of the perimenopause. Peri means close, right? You have gone very close to the stage of the menopause, right? So that's how, again, this is like a transition. There is a change happening, and that's how you will see most of the women, their whatever their physical capacity was, now it starts dropping a little bit. Something they were able to do like physically, In the past they might not be able to do that much work. They might need a little bit of rest in between, or some naps, or sometimes their sleep might be disturbed. Okay, so these are some changes a woman goes through during the perimenopause. Now after that, once she gets into the menopause, that is the biggest transition, and that's how you will see there are multiple symptoms she might get into if she is not preparing her body, right, ahead of time to go through the menopause. Okay, so nobody really, talks about this or really pays much attention. But as you prepare for your pregnancy, right, similarly, you should be preparing for your menopause. It should not happen, drastically, right? You should be taking care of your body slowly with your diet and lifestyle so that this transition becomes nice, gradual, happy transition, not painful transition, not, having major problems around that time. Okay. And then the postmenopause. So the postmenopause actually is from the age around 50 to 55, because the last period typically women get around 50 or up until 55, and then later on they do not produce estrogen anymore and the period completely ceases. So from that point up until the end of your life, right? So if you look at, currently it is 75, 80, even 85. We might see some women living until 90 or even past that. So see, from 50 to average 80, if we call it, so 30 years of period is post menopausal period, right? So that is actually a very big period, right? So we have to be taking care of our bodies so that we do not land up into bone related problems, right? Because typically, as soon as the estrogen is not, produced, the major health issue that we get is related to the bones. So many women, they start having bone density loss, right? Or there might be, sometimes osteoarthritis, so joint and bone related problems, or they might get some problem related to the heart. Okay. Few times it can be related to the brain also. The brain functioning doesn't happen, as it was doing before. Because if you look at from the modern science, or modern point of view, how the estrogen works in the body and whatever different functions it has, now all of those are not happening anymore. Okay, so that's how this is a longer period, like 30 years. We are not going to have that anymore. And that's how we need to take really good care of our, you know, uh, diet and lifestyle ahead of time. So these are some symptoms of the menopause. So all of these are as per the modern science, but Ayurveda, being Ayurvedic physician, I would love to talk about Ayurveda, how Ayurveda looks at all of these. So you will see from top to bottom, literally from your brain to your toe, from your head to your toe, you will see multiple symptoms. Okay, again, not every single woman will have all these symptoms. It really depends on her diet, her lifestyle, her stress, in her life, as well as the genetics. Her mother, as well as her, her sister or her very close women relatives, blood relatives. So it also depends on that. It also depends if she is having any pre-existing conditions. So if she is already having, hormone related problems, so it can be hypothyroid or it can be any autoimmune disease. So it might aggravate the issue and you might see more menopausal symptoms than somebody else. So now let's see, from top to bottom, what kind of symptoms she might get into. So sometimes she might get headaches, sometimes there is a brain fog, so she might not be able to think clearly. So there is so much she want to do because this is still her, career time. She wants to work, she wants to do, other stuff at the home too, taking care of, entire thing, but she is not able to concentrate properly. Okay, so that's how you might see some of these symptoms, they are related to the brain function. Okay, or the cognitive power starts reducing a little bit. Sometimes you might see that she is getting some headaches. If you look at the psychological, sometimes there might be anxiety, or a little bit of depression, because she is still looking for doing so many things, but she is not able to do or perform all the things. Sometimes there might be mood swings or irritability, right? And most of us, we have seen these. This is not, age is not just a number, but definitely these are all the body changes she is going through. And that's how these things are very obvious. Her memory starts reducing a little bit. There is a little bit decline there. And most importantly, especially in my practice, what I have seen, many women get problem related to the sleep. So someone who was sleeping very nice and soundly for hours without any, nobody, like there are so many people talking around, or there is so much interruption and things are happening, but still she was sleeping properly, but now she cannot anymore. Okay, so that's how major sleep related disturbances she might have. She wakes up very early in the morning, say 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and not able to go back to sleep. Very few times it is also not able to fall asleep, but most of the times what I have seen is interrupted sleep. So, in some cases, you wake up every couple of hours, and then you are not able to fall back sleep, or you are waking up around 2 or 3 o'clock and you are not able to fall asleep up until 5 or 6 o'clock. Right, so that major chunk of the early morning sleep you are not getting, and that's how that is affecting your digestion next day, that is affecting your mood next day, that is affecting your physical capacity, your energy next day. Okay, and this doesn't happen 1 or 2 days. This is like a pattern for literally months or even years. I have seen women having this issue. So during the transition from perimenopause to menopause, you will see there are menstrual disturbances, right? So sometimes it is a shorter period, sometimes it is longer cycle. There is excessive bleeding, low, or less bleeding, or painful periods. So many other symptoms you might have. Overall, if you look at the entire theme, or entire changes, what are really happening is dryness. So there is a dryness from your eyes till your vagina. So basically every single part of your body start feeling little bit dry. The hair are dry, the eyes are dry, the skin is dry, some internal organs are dry. You might have constipation or some urinary problems also. So sometimes there is urgency or incontinence, and because of the dryness, sometimes the sexual functions do not happen properly, and there is a pain. Because there is a dryness in the joints, sometimes there is a soreness in the joints, stiffness in the joints, pain in the joints. Okay, so that's how you will see multiple symptoms there. uh, Sometimes there is a little bit of heart related changes. So the heart rhythm is not the same. There is palpitations, which could be because of the anxiety, or sometimes the palpitations are there because the serious heart related function is not happening properly, right? Sometimes there can be breast enlargement, or there might be a little bit of pain. Okay, and overall, if you look at the systemic, like the whole body as a system, not just one specific part of your body, but overall the whole body related, you will see the weight gain. That is the major change, and the weight gain mainly happens in the middle portion of your body, right? So if you will see, there is a fat accumulation around all the vital organs or the visceral organs in your belly. So if the belly fats really increases, that can create more health problems in the future, right? Because your liver might not be able to function properly. Sometimes the pancreas is not doing proper work, right? So you might get insulin related problems, right? And getting into the diabetes or other issues too. So that's how you will notice there are many other possibilities. If a woman doesn't take proper care, then she might land up into all those situations. Now let's see what Ayurveda says about this menopause, right? So as per Ayurveda, this is actually a really big transition. And Ayurveda says that all of us, we have three energies. Every single individual has three different energies, which are called as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. You might have heard about these. Some of you might have, this is very first time. I'm just going to take like 1 minute to explain what this is. So Ayurveda says that all of us, we are energy being. All of us, we have, three major energies. So Vata is like dry, cold, light energy, which is necessary for any kind of movement, any kind of, change. Uh, Pitta is necessary. Pitta is like hot and sharp, and Pitta is for digestion, right? Metabolism, digestion that happens because of Pitta. And the Kapha is earth and water, so it is a heavy energy in the body, which is very, very important to give lubrication for the immunity, for the strength, structure of the body. So, all of us, we have all three energies, but they fluctuate. So, you will see the kapha is maximum when there is a growth, because kapha is all about the growth, growing body, right? So if you look at the baby, right, so the baby is slowly growing, that is because of the kapha. So the first stage is all about kapha, from 0 to 12, that's the kapha. Okay, 12 or up until 14, up until she doesn't get her first period, that's all kapha phase. Then her pitta phase starts, so that is all about hormones. Pitta is, heat. So if you look at the hormones are necessary for the metabolism, the change in the body, the heat in the body, transformation. Okay, so that's how the pitta is necessary. And the last stage is related to the vata. Vata is, like drying, cold, uh, more depletion or slow decline, right? So if you see the first stage, or the babies, they slowly start growing, you will see their, cells grow quickly, they become tall, right? The height, structure, everything changes and increases. But after that, at certain point, like when you become really old, actually your height also becomes a little bit less. Have you heard of this? Like losing height, maybe, a few centimeters, or like, 1 to 2 inches even, because vata is degeneration. Okay, so that's how you will see from pitta to vata, right? So from this stage to this stage. Okay, so that's how there is definitely, you have to pay attention to the rejuvenation, right? Because the body is not creating new cells. Now you have to really work hard to improve your metabolism also, because the pitta is not, significant now. Okay, so your metabolism, in simple words, your metabolism will start reducing. So the foods that you were eating before, if you eat the same food now, and if you do not do any physical activity, you are bound to put on weight, because definitely your inner strength, right? Inner pitta has reduced. The metabolism has gone down. Your agni has reduced. Okay. And if you see, you are going to have, dryness and hair loss and, all other problems. So rejuvenation is extremely important around this time. Okay. So what Ayurveda really says, that because this is a major transition, you have to make some changes in your diet and lifestyle. Okay, Ayurveda's main idea is to live in harmony with the nature, because we are a part of the nature. We should be, following the natural rhythms. Okay, all of us we know, but most of us, we don't feel it's that important. And even if, or, there are so many stressors in the life, even if we know, we do not really follow them. But now is the time we have to follow them. If anybody is in the perimenopause or menopausal state, very, very important to follow these things as much as possible, so that we do not land up in the major health issues in the future. Okay, so this is all about the circadian rhythms, like how the sun slowly comes up and then it goes down. So from sunrise to the sunset, that is the major period of the day, and we need to have, all our daily life based on that. In one most important thing about our daily routine is the meal. So our lunch needs to be the main meal of the day. The afternoon meal is the most important meal. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the dietary guidelines, what Ayurveda says. Okay, so typically eating rice, wheat, quinoa, amaranth, all these are absolutely wonderful, nourishing, very grounding foods, right? So here we are talking about, nourishment, so that our tissues can grow properly and we have significant amount of strength. So we need to eat properly. The legumes like mung dal, tur dal, or any easy protein sources. Again, we don't want to eat like something super heavy, difficult for the body to break down. So taking very heavy protein shakes or eating a lot of meat might be difficult, because the metabolism is not good anymore. Okay, and now I'm talking about more generalized symptoms or generalized change. Some women still might have good metabolism, but this is a generalized thing, right? Most of the women you will see average having these issues. Okay, so do not eat very heavy proteins, and try to eat ghee, sesame oil, olive oil to lubricate your tissues, because there is a lot of dryness that starts happening overall everywhere in the body. So healthy fats, right? It's not a fried food, it's a healthy fat that everybody needs to eat. There are some fruits like dates, figs, papaya, pomegranate. So, most importantly, eating fruits, not drinking fruit juices. Because when you drink a fruit juice, unless you are, very physically active, you run and, you need that nourishment. Otherwise, if you drink a lot of fruit juice, it can actually increase too much fruit sugar. Okay, so try to eat fruit so that you will also get the fiber. Eat vegetables like pumpkin, gourds, zucchini, carrots, sweet potato, so everything that can hydrate your system, right? Because your skin is drying out and you also need some nurturing and healthy and grounding kind of a food. Make sure that you are adding some spices because that will help you for your digestion also. So it can be cumin, coriander, fennel, turmeric. These are very simple, regular, things that we can find in the pantry. But we just need to make sure that we are cooking some simple foods, or at least having some spice teas, which will help us to boost our digestion and metabolism. So now let's just look at very simple 5 things. Okay. So must eat 5 foods, and 5 foods to completely or as much as possible avoid or limit. Okay. So let's talk about the 5 must eating foods. One first thing is sesame seeds. It's called as tila. So sesame seeds have a lot of oil into it, right? It's a very healthy oil that every single person needs, all of us we need. You can take sesame seeds, just 1 teaspoon in the morning, straight chew on it, drink some water after. You can make sesame seed laddus or balls out of it, add some jaggery, ghee to it and make the balls. You can make tahini. But overall, the sesame seeds are supposed to be very good to reduce vata, the dryness from your body. It also has, calcium, potassium, magnesium, many different micronutrients. So sesame seeds really are very important. They are slightly heating though. So if your body is overheated, you need to not eat them, but then you can focus more on the flax seeds. So the flax seeds are also extremely important. They have phytoestrogen, as per the biomedicine. And because our bodies are not making estrogen anymore, we need to pay more attention to the foods which have more phytoestrogens. So having flax seeds, right? You can make a powder, you can add it to your soups, to your curries, anything that you are eating, uh, if possible, every day. So it will also help with the fiber and improving the digestion. Soaked almonds. So take, 8 to 10 almonds and then put them into the hot water overnight. Next day morning, peel them and then eat them. You can chew on them and then drink some water. So soaked almonds are extremely important, not just for the skin, but also very good for the eyes, very good for the brain, right? So they have, good fats and good nourishing effect on the mind also. Ghee is supposed to be good for the skin, good for the brain. It's a clarified butter. Everybody should have at least 1 to 2 teaspoons every day. Many people, they are very fearful about cholesterol. They are very fearful about gaining the weight. But if you are physically active, we should not be worrying about it. Okay, so the ghee clarified butter is one of the major components we all should have. It's very good for improving the metabolism. The greens, like the spinach, kale, moringa leaves, asparagus, right? So these are few things. Definitely, there are lots of other foods also. But greens not as a smoothie, not just having like a green mix, but actual making food out of it, right? So when you cook them, it becomes more bioavailable. Your body can digest it better than having it just as a powder form or mix form, because it becomes difficult for the body to break down those greens. Okay, moringa is almost like a superfood. Moringa is slightly heating, but otherwise it has amazing benefits. Okay, so there is calcium, potassium. It definitely improves your digestion, reduces weight gain, all of that. Okay, what things you should stay away from? Definitely you might have heard a lot about this, like anything that has highly processed sugars or processed foods, very very dry, raw, cold salads, smoothies, fried foods, stimulating foods like caffeine, right? Like drinking those kind of things. uh, of course, like some women might have taking coffee as a ritual like every day, but try to reduce the amount, try to add some cardamom or something that can reduce its bad effect on the body, because caffeine can be very stimulating and very drying to the body too. Okay, so try to reduce excess meat, heavy dairy things, and try to have like a proper routine. So from morning till night, so apply some oil to the body if you can. If not, at least apply it to your feet, when you are into the bed, so it will help you for improving your sleep. Do some forward bends, some restorative poses, because many women, they still feel like, okay, they should be doing hot yoga, they should be doing excessive, like, or too much of exercise, or doing vinyasa. But if you feel depleted, you should be really listening to your body and not getting into that overactive mode. Okay, do some pranayama. So you can do like alternate nostril breathing, brahmari, shitali. These are beautiful ways how you can calm down your mind. Do meditation, journaling, meeting your friends. So spending some quality time with people around you too, that's also actually very very important. And have a proper sleep. Okay, so what are the key takeaways? Definitely try to slow down a little bit. It's not like you are trying to stop doing everything that you have been doing, but just take some time to listen to your body. Okay, daily routine, try to follow it as much as you can. Try to eat well nourished foods, well cooked foods if possible, and reduce highly packaged foods. Okay, there are some Ayurvedic treatments which are extremely beneficial. These has have to be done under skilled professionals, or by like Ayurvedic doctors, Ayurvedic practitioners, because these can be very important in order to get rid of major symptoms, because sometimes if you are already having a lot of toxins build up in your body, having major severe symptoms, making dietary and lifestyle changes might not work for you, right? Then you have to do some cleansing. So it is called as panchakarma, or five detoxification processes, right? If you have heard about like resetting, right? So typically during the spring and during the fall, there is a cleansing that everybody needs to go through. So try to do like abhyanga, which is like herbal oil massages from a professional. You can get like shirodhara, which is oil dripping on your third eye to reduce the stress, improve the quality of your sleep. You might do the nasal drops and the basti is the medicated enema, which is very very important, uh, overall for the whole body, actually, to nourish your body. And there are some bastis or bahya bastis. So for example, in this picture you will see there is a dough around the knees and there is a herbal oil into it. So typically it is kept for about half an hour to 45 minutes and then the massage is done. So based on your constitution, based on your symptoms, these are some very local and specific Ayurvedic treatments which are also offered, and they are very important. In my practice, I see so many women having knee replacement or hip replacement, few times shoulder replacement, right? And sometimes they have already gone through once and this is like second time they might need replacing one of their joints, or sometimes they have been prescribed to go through one of these treatments, and they want to make sure that they are preserving their original joint. Okay, so in all these cases, if you have undergone any kind of surgery or you have been prescribed to go through the surgery, you do not want to do that, right? In all the cases, for prevention as well as for the treatment, these treatments are very, very helpful. Okay, so these are called as a different panchakarma therapies. And rasayana, the rejuvenation, right? Because, as I was talking about, this stage last 30 years, like from 50 or 60, because 50 to 60 still there is some amount of energy, there is not major decline, but after that there is a rapid decline. Some women, they notice, and that's how it's very important to have some medicated ghees, some rejuvenative herbs, different herbal formulations which can preserve and bring you back to the balance, nourishing all your tissues. Okay, so these treatments definitely you need to meet health professional, Ayurvedic professional close to you, and then get these things done. So this is one of the case of one of my clients, and she is 52 years old, and last few years she has been working very very hard to lose weight, but nothing budged. She was just not able to lose weight at all. Okay, not a single pound. Okay, she doesn't eat any meat, not even egg. So it was very hard for her to understand like exactly where things are going wrong, right? She doesn't like sweets also. So now what, right? So when I started taking her case and really going into the depth, what I figured out that she is eating major meal at night, because she works in IT, and afternoon she doesn't have time. She is mostly stressed and taking like multiple meetings at the same time, and there is no time for her to focus on the meal at all, right? So she's just munching on the food, and she is eating major meal late at night. So that was one of the major problem, and she was not physically active. So she used to do some days of very very much like very heavy lifting weights or doing some sort of like running or some sort of exercise, but that was never regular exercise, right? She tried like different yo-yo diets, but nothing helped her. So that's how, when she came, then I created a full plan for her, and I told her like how you should make all these changes, right? So then she started focusing on her food, and most importantly portion size, eating lunch as a main meal, right? And without saying, some of these things which were very very dear to her. So she is not a sweet eater, but she loves only dark chocolate. So not having a big portion, but very small, just a, very just a have that happiness there. I allowed her to do that, and honestly she was very compliant. She followed everything very strictly. And after each meal, she started walking for about 10-15 minutes instead of only doing on the weekends, once in a while, here and there kind of exercise. Now she is very regular. So the regularity counts a lot than anything else. Okay, it can be small, but it has to be consistent. She started drinking proper water, because she used to have a lot of caffeine and have coffee or tea all the time, and there was a sugar into that which she didn't realize at the time, but now she started reducing that and then adding just plain water, sometimes little bit warm water whenever it's possible. She started sleeping properly, main importantly on time, and tried to reduce the screen time at night. Okay, so that definitely helped her a lot, and changed overall her mindset, right? Because when there is so many deadlines and stress around those things, it is difficult for you to relax and enjoy your food, right? So whatever you are eating, everything is actually getting converted into the fat and not really having enough nutrition out of it. Okay, so she started accepting the changes also, because that is one of the biggest challenge. Many women, they just cannot, accept that, okay, this is a body which is going to, go through some changes, and that's absolutely okay, right? So if there is a lot of, stress around those factors, then it becomes difficult. Okay, she started having some support with her family, right? So the entire family need to be on board as we take care of a pregnant woman. Similarly, people around her have to be understanding, right? So also like talking to her friends and family members, everything, and getting that support, it helped her a lot, physically, mentally, both ways. And she was able to lose definitely weight, but not just that, she was also having major stress around like diabetes, because her entire family has diabetes history, and her mother actually passed away because of the kidney issue, because of heavy diabetes, right? So that's how she was very worried about that factor too. But here she was able to, reduce her blood glucose level and, some modern parameters too. Definitely her strength improved significantly. She was able to do more work. She was able to walk a lot too, where she used to, never, used to walk, and she used to just be in the car all the time. But now she feels like, okay, I feel so lighter and better. Now I can do that. And I enjoy that. Not just do it, but enjoy it. Okay, so this is, one of the very, very interesting cases. And this entire change happened actually within 6 months. So it is not like, uh, years of work, but, few months she was able to do that. Okay, so this webinar is not intended for any kind of diagnosis, treatment, prevention, or cure of any disease, or even any health issues or symptoms. So if you have any major things going on, you can definitely always talk to your primary health care. And if you are looking for any personalized advice, you can definitely contact Ayurvedic professional, and you can learn more about this. Okay. So, there is Minnesota Institute of Ayurveda, there is IU Wellness, and definitely anything that is close to your home. If you are interested going there, please do that. If you are looking for in-person appointment. Okay, so now I would like to open up for any questions, and thank you so much for being here.
Asavari.
Yes, Lalita.
So I posted a question in the chat. It's about Abhyanga with sesame oil.
Mhm.
And I did that for a while, but the odor of sesame oil clings to the clothes. So it's not very appealing. So what would you suggest as an alternative? Is there another oil you would suggest for Abhyanga?
Yeah, so you can do like olive oil, if that is easier, that is fine too. But the main thing is like you need to apply the sesame oil, and then later on you need to use some powder. So it can be chickpea flour. So take the chickpea flour, put some water into it, or if you want, you can also add some milk into it, make a paste, and then use that on your body after you apply the oil when you are taking the oil off of your body, when you are actually in the shower. Because many times, like you apply the oil and then you are wearing some clothes and not taking the shower after. So that can be, sometimes like they cling to the body, the oil is still there on the body. So you are taking that excess oil, by using that. And regarding the odor, I completely agree. Sesame oil does have, very, very strong smell to it. So some people they don't like it. So you can add like lavender drops or any essential oil drop that you like.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so Ayurveda says that there is Abhyanga and there is Udvartana. Abhyanga is like applying oil, and Udvartana is using some powder or, scraping that excess oil from the body. You need to still keep some, but not whole, all on your skin.
I have one more question, Asavari. It's about your client, the case report that you shared. You mentioned that she walked every day for about 30 to 40 minutes a day. Was that 30 to 40 minutes all at one time, or did she do, can you break it up?
Excellent question, Lalita. I love this. Because, any woman, when she is working full time and there is so much stress around, it is very difficult to give those 45 minutes, 50 minutes every day. So it was completely breakdown. So it was actually 15 minutes chunk for 3 times. So 15 to 20 minutes in the morning as soon as you eat breakfast, and then you take a walk, and same thing after the lunch and same thing after the dinner.
Wonderful. Thank you, Asavari.
Hmm. Absolutely.
The session was really useful.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, it was many information, and the way you connected it all together and you presented it was very useful. And these are all like remedies that a few of us might know already, but connecting it together from a perimenopause or menopause perspective was what I thought was very valuable. So thank you. Appreciate the information shared today.
thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody has any questions?
Well, I could think of one. What
Mhm.
would you suggest for, I know like sometimes with the inflammation that can come, like joint pain and things like that. Is it just a matter of increasing hydration, or do you have any other suggestions for that?
Yeah. So, for the inflammation, it's really important to do again, some oil massage and also internally the foods, right?
Well,
So, typically, the foods which create more inflammation are very sour foods. Okay, so very sour, salty kind of things or fermented foods, they can create sometimes inflammation in the body. So
hmm,
try to reduce those foods and make sure that you are applying oil. So that can help, to reduce the inflammation and also improve the joint health.
okay. What about one? I know one thing you talked about, like some like decreased interest in sex and sex drive. Is there anything a woman can do to help with that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, that is like the natural kind of, change because of the estrogen, and you're not producing any baby anymore. So that's how the things happen.
Mm.
But definitely, if you want to, improve, there are some herbs and there are foods actually. So the asparagus is one of those that is absolutely wonderful,
Okay.
uh, because it has those phytoestrogens. The flaxseed is very good too. There is actually, it's called a shatavari. So that is a different kind of asparagus, that is a herb that is used. So asparagus has different species. So this is like the herb which is supposed to be excellent actually to improve overall your sexual capacity and the strength and other things too, reducing the dryness as well.
Okay. Thank
Mm.
you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I wanted to open up this session for, hopefully you are able to see this. So there are, two questions. So if you can just take the poll and the questions, that will be helpful. Are you able to see this?
No. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, now I see it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I see almost everybody has taken this. I'm going to end the poll in a second. There is only one person I'm waiting for. Probably that's me. Okay. So I would like to share the results. All right. So the first question was, what symptom bothers you the most, right? So the sleep disturbance, that was the maximum. Okay. The weight gain is the next one. There is some fatigue and thinning of hair. And it seems like it was helpful for few people, many of the people, and it was somewhat helpful. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much for, sharing your input. Okay. So before we conclude, I would like to see if anybody has any other questions or any feedback, any comments, or any other topics you are interested into. You can always email me too. Yes, thank you, Tiffany. So
I have a question.
Mhm.
Um, I'm wondering, a lot of women that I talk to seem to be jumping straight to hormone replacement therapy. What are your thoughts on that? Or are you allowed to comment on that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Nancy, because that is very true. Most of the women, they directly go for the hormone replacement, but see, your body is not producing one hormone, so that does not mean that you are taking something from outside. So you are almost like outsourcing your body and not really helping your body to heal or, to slowly go through the transition. And if you are sourcing it from outside or taking any hormone, it most of the times these are the artificial hormones, and that's how they have their side effects along with that too. Right? So it is definitely not a natural way, and there is not a significant statistics which really tells that it is related to, or it can be related to breast cancer. But there are some cases definitely, where women have been taking artificial hormone replacement therapy, and then they started getting into issue. So the side effects, that is something you need to pay attention to. And when the women do not want to take proper care of their body and they just want to rely on some external source, it's not the best way to do it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have a quick question, Dr. Asavari. So we saw sesame seeds as one of the foods that is recommended to be taken. Is it sesame seeds specifically, or is it sesame oil too?
Yeah, so it's mainly the sesame seeds. So
Okay.
eating sesame seeds and sesame oil for applying externally.
Okay, gotcha. And again, we have black sesame seeds and white. Back in home in India, it's usually black. So is that preferred over white that we
Yeah,
get here, or is it the same benefits?
yeah. No, that's a great question. So basically, the black sesame seeds are actually better than the white ones. So
Gotcha.
black are really good for the hair also.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so I will just take 1 minute to introduce the, the MA. MA is Minnesota Ayurveda Association. And if anybody is interested into becoming a member of it, you can always do that. It is a non-profit organization based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we are also looking for a treasurer. So if anybody has, those skills or want to volunteer as a treasurer for Minnesota Ayurveda Association, please reach out to me. You can, always email it to me. Okay. All right. Okay, so thank you everybody again for joining me today. It was lovely to meet all of you. I hope you had a nice, Women's Day back, back in March, and continue this journey, the womanhood, and enjoy. Thank you again. It was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.